And now, podcasting from the sun-scorched desert Southwest, weighing in at a combined total of 340 pounds, Brad Winchester, Tyler McDowell-Blanken, are Gimmick Infringement.
Welcome, everybody, to the Gimmick Infringement Podcast. I am Brad Winchester, and with me, as always, is my tag team partner, Tyler McDowell-Blanken. Tyler, it's Sunday. Long week. Good week. Late week for you. How you doing?
Facts everywhere. I'm so good, man. I'm so happy to be here with you. This week was super busy. It's now the time of the year. I was sharing this with you during our production meeting. It's the time of the year where we transition from sort of a lot of computer work and calling folks, a lot of work behind the screen, to actually being with other humans in a room and speaking coherently and answering questions. So I had some class visits. I spoke with a lot of students and families interested in college, some of which are interested in going to school to become a teacher. So I feel incredibly blessed, man. It was a really, really great week. How about you? How you doing?
Doing really well. I want to start with speaking of being a teacher, Tyler. My students this week got to write a list of unwritten rules that exist that are part of our social scripts that, when violated, can become kind of uncomfortable, socially awkward, whatever. An example for people wondering what that means is like if you were a guy and you go to a public restroom and there are 5 urinals, there are 3 urinals. The end. There is a spacing rule in urinals. Those dividers, those privacy divider things, those are not privacy dividers. Those are splash guards at best. And that's all they're for. Because otherwise they would be set up like stalls. So there's a bunch of etiquette. We were never explicitly taught it. We were simply modeled it throughout our lives. And then we just learned, nope, this is the rule when you go in there. We all know it, but we were never taught it. Now, they were writing down all these rules in different areas: bathrooms, relationships. One of my favorite ones made me laugh. It was, if it's a first kiss, for the love of God, close your eyes. That one got me. That one made me laugh out loud. I was just imagining.
That's good. That's a conversation in Bachelor Nation. Sometimes there are contestants who don't do that. It's a whole thing. We'll get there later this month. Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you on these unwritten rules. Continue.
All right, so excited. So, Tyler, do you agree with this unwritten rule? This one got me. If a teacher doesn't mention the homework, should you remind them?
I've been on both sides of this.
Likewise.
And there's an answer that I should give, and then there's one that I'm going to give you.
Give me the student answer, because I know that's where you're going.
Clearly, the student answer is no. Of course not. You should not be that person. Then you're shunned for the rest of the semester.
Yes, you can't be that guy.
No. We'll still hit the learning standard. We'll still get there. No, you should not. You should not remind the teacher of the homework.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty obvious one, but that one made me laugh quite a bit. It was the last one on the list of a lot of really good ones in there. And some of them were terrible rules that were unwritten rules. And you can start seeing the cultural and I guess the generational gap between rules, because there's stuff that they're like, no, you must do this that you would never do. For example, if you wore sandals when I was growing up and socks, you would get ridiculed forever because you'd look like an old man. And now you should look like an old man. That's
so many kids are doing that, Brad. I saw that at schools this week.
It's the rule. It's the unwritten rule. They say, like, if you wear slides, you have to wear socks. And I'm like, no,
white socks. It seems
it's 150 degrees outside. I'm keeping the dogs out. Like, let them breathe, let them roam.
Do your students wear? I learned this week this is a senior thing. Do your students, particularly your seniors, wear retro backpacks like Blue's Clues,
Yes.
Cars?
Yes.
Did that start on TikTok? Did I just miss that?
Idea. I have no idea. I know the Stanley like thermos mug thing with the big straw in the middle. That was TikTok thing. That's a very popular thing. The backpack trend. Yeah, the backpack trend is probably a TikTok thing or something blew up because it's that or it's JanSports. Like the JanSports those are eternal.
JanSport was running the game, but now I see just as many retro backpacks as I do JanSport.
Yeah. I just know that the JanSport's going to be there in 15 years, and that retro backpack's going to be crumbs by the end of this year. Yeah, I'm just thinking about those Cars backpacks. Lightning McQueen's face is peeling off before the end of fourth quarter. So it doesn't have a chance.
You're saying the quality isn't there? I ordered it from Amazon. It got
all
here.
those like those plastic pressed things that are kind of
Yes.
shiny on the back.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking
That's
about.
not going to survive the heat and the dryness out here. That thing has no chance. Yeah,
This sounds so fun, man. I say this often because it's true. I want to sign up for your class. One day when you're teaching at the collegiate level, let's make this thing happen.
I'm really good at everything I do. Okay, I'm ready for humility. No, I'm standing. I have no confidence in anything I do. I just wanted to put that out there for everybody. Just caught me in the lie. I do have confidence though I would say that I have confidence in my ability to answer your question about WWE, Tyler.
I love it. Seamless as always. Let's get into it.
Rocky. Well said by me.
So there's a lot, Brad, particularly in WWE, that we must discuss. Big shout out, first and foremost, to Becky Lynch defeating Tiffany Stratton and becoming the new NXT Women's Champion.
That was this week. It feels like 2 weeks ago.
Doesn't it? Big rating for NXT. I've been telling you, Brad, before it was trendy, that NXT is on a come up. We're really leaning into Brad, I'm telling you, we got Bakersfield, No Mercy at the end of this month.
NXT is not on
a watch live.
NXT is not on a come up. Raw and SmackDown are on NXT. It's like saying ROH is doing great because it's on AEW programming. Ring of Honor this week did almost 100,000 views. Did you see that?
No, not at all.
Yeah, because people from Ring of Honor were on Dynamite. Like that. No, NXT by itself, it's not. It's the people that are in NXT making NXT what it is no longer exists. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 main roster folks that are on that
at least
roster now.
At least
you have Dijak, you have Baron Corbin, Mustafa Ali, now Becky Lynch. Who am I missing? Dominic
Mysterio.
Rhea's been on there. So it's like, I think that's cool that they're doing the crossover thing. That's why it's on a come up. It's not the new stars. They're trying to make the stars by asking the main roster guys to come down to NXT, which helps the ratings for NXT. But my fear is that once you stop doing that, we're back to the beginning again. And I know their idea is let's build these stars, but like do it on the main roster and then gives people a reason to watch NXT, because the reason to watch NXT now is people from Raw or people from SmackDown. So I have a really hard time with that because I feel like you're violating all your rules here the way AEW does with our Ring of Honor stuff. Like I don't want Ring of Honor on my AEW TV. I'm sorry, I don't. Anyway, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No. Well said. Well, I mean, you're bringing up points that are pretty irrefutable here. Well, I'm glad that wasn't my question, Brad. I'm going to get to my actual question now, but big shout out to Becky and Tiffany. I was actually surprised. I did not think it was going to go down like that, but shout out to both of those.
It was awesome. Don't get me wrong, NXT is great right now, but it's
it's not. It's due to what you're saying. Well, speaking of being great, Brad, the Great One appeared on SmackDown. First time in 4 years that we've seen The Rock appear on the blue brand. I'm going to get right to business here. 2-part question. 1, how loud was the pop in Miranda? 2, do we get the Roman match at WrestleMania next year?
It was pretty big. I was angry actually. We were watching some crap. I think we were watching like Big Bang Theory or something, and just to pass the time to eat some dinner. And I was like, I saw the SRS Fightful Select report that The Rock is going to be on SmackDown, and I was like, well, I'll just watch it later because I'm sure he'll close the show and be this big surprise. And then I look at my timeline and I'm like, damn it, he opened? What is this? Why is Pat McAfee coming out first? And then Austin Theory interrupting. And then the Great One comes out for 20 minutes of applause. It's 15, 20 minutes. Big pop here. Lots of smiles. Even Jess was interested because it was The Rock. And
that
was great. He immediately became an unbelievable clip to use for memes and reactions. Yeah, it was great. It was classic vintage Rock. We got him finally. The Rock has come back. We got we got to see him do arguably WWE's outside of anytime Arn Anderson was on the show, the best spine buster in the game. My favorite anyway, even though other people have had better ones, I think. And we got to see the people's elbow, not once, but twice. McAfee's crappy people's elbow also happened. I thought this was great. I thought it was awesome. If we get Rock Roman at WrestleMania, that is hilarious. Hilarious. Yes, I hope we get that. Yes, it's funny as hell. It is just so funny if we get Rock Roman. The only thing that I could possibly see happening there is if they give Cody the triple threat. Otherwise, that story is just it's the never ending story. He is now riding Falcor off into the great distant beyond on his never ending story. Cause I don't even care what he's doing right now. What is Cody even doing? I didn't watch Raw.
Nothing.
Oh, I saw clips online. I watched NXT. I did not watch Raw this week because I'm just so disinterested in that, because I can get everything I want from Raw and clips, and SmackDown right now feels like must watch television.
Right when I was ready to give up on it.
Yes.
Here they are with one of the most newsworthy episodes of the entire year. Maybe the number one.
Yeah. So I mean, The Rock is back. He did the interview with McAfee the day before, and they talked about how he had everything set up for WrestleMania and that he could easily make it happen. It's about telling the right story. And my guess is that he felt like the timing wasn't quite right because of everything else that was going on in the bloodline. Because I don't think he ever got into it of why it wasn't the right time for that story. But I kind of agree with that. There was so much stuff going on with the current talent with Sami Zayn and KO. Just all of the stuff revolving around Roman. And then you had the match with Cody, and there's just a lot going on there that felt like that needed to happen. So I hope we get Rock at WrestleMania. Yeah, I have nothing to add there. I just don't know what that story is going to be, what the build's going to be, and hopefully they give it the time. I don't know how that will work right now if they don't put in like this is what the plan is, and hopefully they're having those conversations with Rock there if he had time, because he was doing photo ops with every wrestler on the planet. So we'll see what happens there. I loved the John Cena moment. I thought that was really cool given their history together, and both of them being in the exact same position now where they're both acting former WWE guys that come back to the WWE to do stuff. I think that's great. Obviously, Rock is on a different stratosphere in terms of overtime success, but John Cena's a busy guy and still finds a way to do one match a year at least and keep that streak going, which I think is really, really cool. So all fun, all great, all good feelings. How about you?
Yeah. Well, big shout out to friend of the show, Merge of the Styles Clashing podcast, because he was in attendance for this, given that it was at the Ball Arena in Denver. Could you imagine, Brad, just going to a just a SmackDown because it comes to your city, and you go to the one that The Rock ends up being at? That's a big shout out to the entire city of Denver, man. They're really just going through a pretty euphoric period. You get The Rock. Obviously, he was on College Game Day earlier, which I know you saw. I think it was after, right? It was on Saturday.
He was on College Game Day the day after, and he was on that pre-show thing.
Yeah. So they were interviewing Deion Sanders, and The Rock comes out. They play his music. I think you and I agreed that it seemed like most of the crowd didn't know what was happening when they cued The Rock's music. But as wrestling fans, it was just a big time, man. And for all of Denver, right, with Prime, Deion Sanders, with The Rock appearing, Nikola Jokic put the entire city on his back and won an NBA championship. Big shout out to the folks in Colorado. I definitely think Rock versus Roman is happening. This was all the proof I needed that we're definitely going to get the match. I could be wrong, Brad, but my fantasy booking here is that somehow, some way, Roman loses the gold to Cody before WrestleMania. I don't know if that's Survivor Series. I don't know if that's the Rumble, but I want to see Rock versus Roman in Philly. I don't want to see it for gold. So if they can fight for who is the true head of the table, and if by the grace of the universe we can give Cody a meaningful storyline by that point, because now he's just appearing on TV and he's speaking. But since Brock, we're just not really giving him anything. We're not giving full Ricochet treatment to Cody, where Ricochet is just a non-factor now, which makes me really sad. But for Cody, we got to strap him up with that gold, and we got to give him a program of some sort. So I think we get Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania. I don't think it's going to be for gold. I think somehow we get Cody being world champ. Maybe a unification with him and Seth at that point. I don't know, but I think heading into next year, I think that's the WrestleMania number 40. It's time to give us the dream match: Rock versus Roman. Head of the table, Jones. Let's go.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to do a unification match. I don't know what they're going to do because they're talking about reorganizing the entire title structure in the WWE. I don't know if you saw that report, but they're looking.
I think I missed that.
Oh yeah, they're talking about doing trios belts. They're talking about doing all kinds of stuff. So
Word, get out of here! I did not. Oh man. Okay.
It's conversations are happening. So here's my well, this will blend into my question, but I guess my concerns right now are you got Cena, you got The Rock. Survivor Series is definitely not where Cody is going to wrestle Roman, and if he does, he's going to lose. It's in Chicago. I think CM Punk was definitely just teasing us there, but I don't know. Fired with cause usually means the termination of a contract and a payout. From my understanding, and that would not include a non-compete. That's usually, if there is a non-compete, it's usually like 60 days, my guess. And it's been 60 days. So if CM Punk does go back to the WWE, it'll be at Survivor Series in Chicago. And now you have Cena, The Rock, and CM Punk. Who are you putting behind Cody Rhodes in line to fight Roman for the championship? So even if Cena's already done it, like The Rock is going first, Punk is definitely going to go ahead of Cody, which I actually don't want. I'd rather see CM Punk and Seth Rollins, but because I think that'll be great. But I think it becomes really complicated. It's just, if the WrestleMania event is going to be Cody, the story kind of feels like it needs to finish there, like giving him a lesser event. Survivor Series is not what it used to be, and if it is going to be what it used to be, it's still going to be War Games. And my guess is that it's going to be Roman in a War Games match with Solo and who knows who else. So
it's really sunk to about the 4th or 5th most important pay-per-view of the year. I would put Rumble ahead of it, SummerSlam. I'd even put Money in the Bank. Money in the Survivor Series at this point.
Payback was great this year. If they're going to do like Clash at the Castle and stuff like that, those are better. Like when you're going to do the special events that are elsewhere and you're going to get those moments that are just like way bigger. I mean, I know they're going to Chicago, but Chicago's been getting bludgeoned with big pay-per-view events. So they'll show up for it and everything, especially if there's the hint that a whiff in the air that CM Punk might be there. They'll show up and show out, but it's, I don't know. I don't know where Cody, I just don't see it. So I think Rock might lose at the Rumble, but not Survivor Series. I just think that's too soon to build that story up and make it matter, especially since they're on different brands. So I don't even know how you get Cody over there to be the one that fights him, because right now, storyline wise, it wouldn't make any sense. So my question, very much related to what you asked me about The Rock. So what is the goal of WWE using the nostalgia trip? So we had The Rock come back. We have Cena come back. We're only missing Batista here because of the writer's strike. So I don't think Batista will ever wrestle again. I think he said as much that he's done, but you could always come back, do his entrance, shoot off the machine guns, and then, I don't know, powerbomb somebody and leave. But what is the goal of this? Is it a ratings pop? Is it a way to draw old watchers into a new product? Because, oh, look, there's LA Knight. This looks familiar to me. Or is it a recruitment video for other talent after the TKO merger? Because it happened this week. It's another thing we didn't talk about.
Yeah, yeah, that's a thing that we need to discuss. I, is there an option D where it's it's potentially all the
Yes.
above, Brad? So I like your recruitment idea. Obviously, with TKO now officially becoming an entity, UFC and WWE merging, I find the logo really interesting. It kind of reminds me of Monster Energy, going back to Teenage Trends.
I was thinking of
Whoever
Surge.
whoever designed that logo, I think they need to step down, and Brad Winchester needs to ascend to that position to design the TKO logo. Because even though big money is going to happen with this, I think they're going to be uber successful. And the thought of mega weekends where UFC and WWE just come to your city and hold two respective pay-per-views, like, man, they're just going to be rolling in dough. So recruitment, yes, but I want to touch on the first 2 points you mentioned about popping a rating, and then I forget that other option you said, but it was it resonated with me to the point where clearly I forgot about it.
To get old watchers.
To get old watchers, yep, and kind of similarly, right? Maybe A and B kind of play off each other.
Mhm.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think it's been a proven, time-tested strategy where if you bring back these legends, announced or unannounced, it's going to do a huge number. And WWE, we just spoke about NXT and their big ratings as of late. You knew that when people saw The Rock on SmackDown, if you saw it on the timeline, if your friend texted you about it or both, you're gonna tune in and watch this thing. So I think it's all of those, and I just want to add as well, not that everything has to be WWE versus AEW, but especially over recent weeks, I think that WWE's capitalized on this with the fall of John Cena, with The Rock coming back and now teasing that we might get that Roman match after all. This is something that AEW doesn't have or can't pull out of their back pocket. This is what, year 4 we're approaching, Brad, for All Elite Wrestling. They don't have that history of bringing back the John Cena or Dwayne Johnson. Like, this is something that is very unique to WWE and that they know is going to be successful. Like, who does not want to see The Rock back on screen? Even if we see John Cena, it seems like every year, every other year now, every time he comes back, it's a huge deal because that dude is a Hollywood star and he has a lot of cachet
Right.
with the wrestling community. So I think it's all the above, and I think it's pretty shrewd of them because they know that their next closest competitor, if you will, isn't able to do these things, these massive returns. I think it's everything you said.
Yeah, I think making people feel like a huge deal and giving them their flowers and going like, oh yeah, this person has cachet because they're successful. And in Hollywood, we know all the stories of Vince McMahon, like Mark Henry going, I want to do the world's strongest man thing while he was an active wrestler. And he was like, I'll give you permission, but don't come back if you take second place. Like, it's just, you have to be successful if you're going to go do those other things. Or Sergeant Slaughter quitting because he was like, I can make more money doing this GI Joe gimmick over here than being a wrestler. And that's why he bailed, is because they wanted to use his likeness and his appearance and stuff. So Jade Cargill, I'm sure you're going to ask me later, rumored to go to the WWE, but this is the place where you get opportunities. It has the biggest spotlight on it. It has the largest cachet. Wrestling in the United States and WWE, probably globally, are synonymous. Those words are synonymous. To big fans of professional wrestling, they're not. But to the casual viewer, they're going to be like, what is this WWE thing happening here? And it's like, that's wrestling. Why are you calling it a WWE thing? It's just wrestling. So much like I call my I have to go get some Kleenex at the store, where I might be buying puffs or a Great Value or whatever it might be.
Up and up. If we're going to making the Target run,
that's some up and up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's we just kind of create things that are synonymous with searching online is Googling. So I think WWE has got that kind of I don't know, embedded recognition in our cultural consciousness that we just assume all wrestling is WWE. I say AEW to people. Most people don't know what I'm talking about because unless you're a real fan, you're probably like, I never heard of that. Is that commercial that's on when I'm watching basketball? Shout out to Stephen Cameron, who we had this conversation, or at least I did yesterday. Friend of the show, 19 media member and host of the Close Up Magic podcast. I had a conversation with him because he was like, well, this doesn't work if you bring back a former star in the NBA and having them trot out there for a game, people aren't going to watch it. And it's a great comp because no, you can't do that in professional sports because once they're washed, they're washed. In pro wrestling, you're writing a script. You can have them do whatever you want. And if they can't do that thing they used to do, have them do something else. Have them say their catchphrases, have them, so it's not one dimensional. And I brought up the point that if you brought Kobe back for that, okay, imagine if Kobe were to play not the whole game, but he would come in midway through the fourth quarter, Kobe's music hits, and he comes in for a substitution. Imagine the pop, like 5 minutes left, close game, Kobe comes running in. Or go back to the 90s. It's Michael. It's they play Sirius over the radio. They don't do the starting lineup. It's just almost the game's almost over, and you hear ding, 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 ding. The lights go down while they're playing on the court.
That's tough. Road Warrior pop.
Oh my God, it would be incredible.
Yeah.
I would love that now. I think they could pro wrestling
awesome.
Sports, and it would be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that's gotta be Marino, and he shows up on the field, and it's like. I would be absolutely here for that.
Give it Dan his flowers. Okay.
Yes. I think it would be a blast. It would never work, not ever in a million years. So wrestling is unique in that respect that you can just bring back random older guys that are way past their prime, but can still do some stuff and still entertain the crowd. Why not? Hulk Hogan did some hosting stuff with, who did he do it with? I can't remember who he did it with. He hosted Mania.
Oh,
one of the pandemic years. I just don't remember who his co-host was.
Oh, it wasn't Alexa Bliss?
No.
Mm.
It's names.
I probably tried to forget about it. Yeah.
No, the dude that scooted underneath the ring during the Rumble.
Oh yeah. Titus O'Neil.
Titus. I thought it would begin with T. I almost said Tyrus. It's like Jesus. I know that's wrong.
Luckily, yes.
That's the end of our Tyrus conversation. Forever. But anyway, there's a vast difference between pro wrestling and other sports. I'm here for it. I love the nostalgia thing. And to your point, I think it's a little bit of everything. It's get old people hooked and old watchers. I shouldn't call them old people. Like get the 80s, get out of your walkers and start watching wrestling, I guess. But I thought it was great. I thought it was really good for everything because we wouldn't have had that conversation in that group chat had The Rock not shown up and showed up all over our timelines.
Yep,
so
exactly. Imagine how many other group chats were just buzzing after that.
And in one day's time, there were over 100 million combined views for The Rock's return. 100 million combined views. They got exactly what they wanted out of that segment. And I think that's awesome. The WWE is absolutely on fire right now. The best thing that could have possibly happened to the WWE is Vince McMahon leaving, because ever since then, look where they are right now. This is crazy. Vince is, all accounts or all signs point to Vince doing all the right things business wise and making all the right decisions. So as much as I don't want to give that man his flowers for what kind of person he is, assumably, it's hard to deny that he's not making really good business decisions and doing really good numbers for the company. And he seems like he's always been it's best for business kind of person. And so pretty cool to see the company taking off like this. Tyler, I've yammered long enough. I don't have a transition here, but I do know that some of the best wrestlers in the world are in WWE, and some of them are in the Shield specifically, and some of them are in AEW and other promotions. And let's get into it because some of it doesn't make sense. It's time for another edition of What Happened Here, PWI 500 edition. Play the music.
What happened here?
Tyler, we both saw the list at the same time, specifically the top 10 or even the top 500, where we saw Naito not that long ago in AEW. That man's not on the list at all. And that's really surprising to me. What did you think of the list, specifically the top 10? Or what are your thoughts overall?
So the Shield reigns supreme. This is a big look for those guys. I saw that you reposted Seth Rollins's tweet or post on X with the 3 fists in the center. Right, a shout out to the Shield back in the day. So I just think that's huge, and that speaks to how legendary that trio truly is. I mean, I don't even know who we can compare them to in years past. Maybe that's a separate segment or episode for us. But yeah, really, really big look for Rollins in particular to be number one. He was kind of positioned, it seemed like, as the real money drawing act of the Shield from when he, turned on Roman back in the day. But I think he's often forgotten about in this trio. But for him to get number one, Roman number two, and then Mox number three, it's tough to argue. Those guys are all amazing and just big money acts. If we're just looking at this list in order, Gunther being number 4 is also a huge deal, Brad. I think this guy is absolutely going to be a world champ in 2024. We have Vikingo number 5, MJF 6. As if this guy needs more motivation. He's kind of like Jordan, right? Going back to our NBA talk, where I think he just saves some of these perceived slides and maybe even invents some of them in his head, like number 23 did. I thought MJF was pretty low. We know this list is inherently subjective, but man, to put 5 people ahead of Max, I don't know how I feel about that. Okada 7, OC 8. I love that for Orange Cassidy. Josh Alexander number 9. Shout out to Impact. I know they had their special tribute show this past week. And for Cody to be 10, to your point, Brad, these are all phenomenal talents. Hard to have any issue with listing those guys as being on the top of any pro wrestler list. But the reason why we have this positioned as a what happened here is because of one huge omission. I'm going to kick it to you in a moment because this is your guy. How do we not have the aerial assassin Will Ospreay on this list? I think that is by far the biggest omission.
You think this is the part that gets me is I have to look here. One moment.
I mean, you could argue he could be number 1. You could make the case that he's the best pro wrestler walking on the earth today. We don't even put him in the top 10. I don't know.
I'm looking here because I couldn't remember if we're looking at just this year, and if it's calendar year, it fits. If it's last year within a year of publication, so what is it, September to September, it also fits. But this is just since January. Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega, Wrestle Kingdom 17 was in January. We got the second one. We get the second one in, I guess June for Forbidden Door. He's been all over the place. He's been wrestling around the world. Now, that being said, he hasn't had a huge number of matches. All of his matches have been great, but he hasn't had a huge amount of matches, especially televised matches. So I understand that part. Roman Reigns should be in the top 20, but not the top 10. I don't even feel bad saying that. The guy has wrestled like 3 times this year. Get all the way the hell out of here with that. Like he's going to wrestle once in every 2 months now. His next match is in October. He hasn't wrestled since the last pay-per-view. So not even the last one. It was the one before that, right? It was SummerSlam.
Right.
And then he won't wrestle again until Survivor Series.
Till November.
Hardly ever on TV. They turned him into a special attraction before he's retired. So I don't know how you can argue that he should be that high on the list, even though his character should be that high on the list. I think I don't know how they do these rankings. That's the other part. I don't know what the ranking criteria is. So if it's all around, okay, fine, Roman should be on the list. But that's the only thing I could think is their presentation on TV, the time that they spend in the ring, the stories that they tell. If all of those are factors in this, then I understand why Will isn't on this list, because he's not in that many storylines. Most of his storylines are, I'm going to wrestle you because I'm better. So that being said, I don't know how El Hijo del Vikingo ends up at number 5 if it's strictly about storyline telling, because that guy is next level out of this world. Good. I don't know any stories. I don't know. I've never heard him do a promo.
No, I don't think I have either.
So I don't know how he makes it on that list above MJF, who's had he did an Iron Man match. All of his matches have been completely
MJF had 6. I don't, and I love Gunther, but I was trying to look if those watching YouTube. I was trying to look for a Will Ospreay post on X. I thought I saw that he acknowledged, like, yeah, I got slided. I think I'm the best in the world. I couldn't find it, but I know he said something about it. For MJF, Brad, I don't know how love Vikingo, especially love Gunther, because we've heard him talk. But man, I think MJF, like, that dude's got to be slotted at 4 at the furthest back.
Yeah,
he's amazing.
He's the world champion. He's been defending his belt. He's also the Ring of Honor tag team champion. His stories have been compelling. The stuff he's been doing with Adam Cole has been awesome. All of that has been great. Orange Cassidy only being at number 8 is insane to me. He also should be moved up that list.
Yeah, he's top 5.
Sorry, I don't know that Cody should break the top 10 right now because his stories have been ass.
Yeah,
he did like half a year with Brock and it wasn't any good. I just, if you go back to WrestleMania, yeah, it's been great, but that was a while ago, and everything since then has been pretty mid. So all of the stuff since coming back from the Rumble to WrestleMania, you have to consider that he won the Royal Rumble, that he main evented WrestleMania, that the story leading up to it was awesome, but hasn't really done a lot after that, because everybody's like, no, it's just like his dad's story. It's like, oh, cool. New stuff. A 40-year-old story, brand new to us. I get it's new to new audiences, but I don't get the list. I just don't get the list. I don't understand how they put it together. Am I going to complain about it? No, it's a list. I don't care. But I do think it's preposterous that Will Ospreay isn't in your top 10. I don't care where he wrestles, because you got Okada on there, who was also amazing. To be fair, I haven't really followed New Japan all that much since probably March, maybe April. So I don't know what he's been doing in there. And if he's been putting on a show, then great. Then yeah, we should probably consider him up there. But if this is just best wrestlers in the ring, that list is messed up. That's not a good list. But I can't argue with the Shield being in the top 3, because all 3 of those guys have been bringing it. Seth absolutely deserves that number 1 spot. That dude has been on fire. John Moxley should always be in the top 5, given what he does every year. That dude never takes a break.
Nope.
And hearing his interview, where I don't remember who it was, that he can't get out of bed in the morning, and takes him a while to stretch, and he's glad wrestling happens at night because he's loosened up, because he has such terrible arthritis already. That's wild to me. So I don't know, man. This is a long segment. I've yammered. I'm done.
Well, speaking of putting on a show, Brad, AEW has a huge show this week. Dynamite Grand Slam. They're returning to Queens, heading back to Arthur Ashe. If Tony Khan is hearing this, I need Eddie Kingston to main event. I think this is going to be his signature win in AEW. Can't wait. But I want to rewind as I lead into my question for you.
In AEW, Tyler?
In AEW.
Or in Ring of Honor?
See, that's where we get...
That's what I'm saying. It's just NXT on a pay-per-view.
Well, Brad, according to a Fightful report released last week, we kind of hinted at this earlier, it appears Jade Cargill may be WWE bound. You knew where I was going with this question. And her appearance in WWE, it appears may be imminent. If this is true, how will you remember her run in AEW? And if you had to select one member from the women's roster who you believe will take a major step up in Jade's absence, who would that be?
It's a good question. I mean, she was a force. Nobody had ever seen anything like her, and her ascendancy and getting her improvement week to week was incredible to watch. I'll remember her getting to watch her kind of go through her wrestling growing pains. Even though everybody liked that entrance where she came out and she danced on her way out. I hated that. I hated all that dancing so much.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, I felt like it took away from her. Like,
really? This is the AKA entrance at Double or Nothing, right?
I didn't like that she was the one doing the dancing because it made her feel super unserious, where her presentation had been exactly the opposite of that every single time otherwise, where it's, I'm coming out, I'm just going to do my little flippy thing and then strike my pose, flex, and then do the arms out, and then not be bothered by anybody coming out. But then she danced, and I was like, doesn't feel like Jade. This feels like, I don't know, Dalton Castle. It just, I didn't love it. But then she did like She-Hulk. Yes, love that. She did a lot of really cool things that was kind of like giant presence over the top. So I guess maybe that dancing thing fits her character more than I want to give it credit for. But getting the live version of her song to play her out when the guitar started singing at the top of the stage, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I still don't understand the Storm is coming at all, other than she wants to be Storm. That's all I got out of that. I still don't really totally get that character. I don't feel like they ever got to cook it to finish. But I'll remember the big boots. I'll remember her hossing people around and then getting complaints backstage that she's just too damn strong. I'll remember her coming out and having a bad promo to start her AEW career with a weird awkward pause before saying Shaq. And then immediately, the first time we really see her on TV, teaming with freaking Shaquille O'Neal and fighting Cody Rhodes. Like, what? That was amazing. So
Pretty special.
Yeah, pretty awesome. I'll remember her presence on the screen being bigger and more of a badass than anybody she's in the ring with. She's just special, man. I didn't always love her character. I didn't always love the presentation. Probably less than most people. I don't know why. I'm just too nitpicky with it. But love Jade. Love watching her. Love all of the things she's accomplished. I think she's incredible. I hope she does get to play Storm because she'd be perfect. I hope that happens. Or somebody put her in a Marvel movie. She does not need a costume. She's already just super jacked. Just let her be Jade.
Yeah.
Make a Marvel character called Jade Cargill, and then have her beat up all of the Avengers, every one of them. I
see no issues with this whatsoever.
Yeah, so I think she'll transition well into the WWE
for sure,
and from there they'll only elevate her presence and her stardom, and I think she'll take off really quickly there. That being said, who steps up?
There's a big void now.
There is a big void. I was hoping that Marina Shafir would be the one to continuously improve, but she put on a goofy hat and then sort of disappeared. I don't know where she is. She was managing and tagging with Nyla. So I don't have a clue who the next person is to step up. There's nobody there that fills that role. Nobody. So Jamie Hayter's the closest one, but she's got to get healthy. But
that's where I was going. Yeah, when she comes back, I think the world is hers.
Yeah, or Thunder Rosa, because she's right there too. And we've been waiting. She's getting closer and closer and closer to coming back. I still think it's Jamie, but I don't think we necessarily appreciate Thunder Rosa nearly enough. I also, after this main event, don't think we appreciate Britt Baker nearly enough. People like to shit on Britt, and I don't understand. I've never understood it. There are moments where she doesn't look awesome in the ring, but it's usually with people that aren't necessarily as experienced as she is. She went in there with Stat and put on a great match. I love that match. That main event ruled. They had me convinced of stuff. Great acting and facial expressions by both ladies.
Yeah, Stat is cooking, man. I'm telling you, like, I know she's good friends with Orange Cassidy. I believe Cassidy was one of her trainers. I think that if they give her time with this TBS championship, we could see an international title type run for Chris. She's also in this conversation for sure.
Not ready for her to drop the belt at all now.
Yeah, no.
Tyler, Santana's video was left off of Collision. He had a package apparently produced for him to be shown, and it seems that he found out during the airing of the show. Do you think he will ever get a push ever, or was breaking up Proud and Powerful a mistake?
Yeah, I still think he's going to get a push. I don't see this going totally south. Should him and Ortiz have broken up? No, absolutely not. If you would have told me looking back, Brad, that in the 3 to 4 years that AEW's existed, Proud and Powerful would not have a tag title run, I would have been shocked. I still hold out hope that these guys will reunite and claim gold. I think even now, Brad, if we look at the tag division, yeah, we're getting FTR versus Aussie Open in October. And that's going to be an amazing match. I think there's a real void now where AEW was founded on we have the best tag team division in the world. And they still have amazing teams, but it seems like it's kind of fallen off a bit, if I can be respectful about it.
Hugely fallen off.
I think right now is the time for Ortiz and Santana to hug it out, make up, and go for that gold. Like, to me, there's a real void in the division right now. You could even slot Proud and Powerful into that FTR Aussie Open match and make it a three-way in Seattle. So I'm holding out hope. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen, but man, if those guys could just bury the hatchet, do whatever they need to do business-wise, reconcile, and jump back into this division, I think it would be amazing. But again, to your first question, is Santana going to get that push? I don't know what's going on there right now, but I'm going to say yes. I think the guy has a lot more to give in AEW, and if presented with the storyline and the time on TV, I think he could present something really different for them. How about you? Are you as hopeful as me on this one?
No, I think he has a.
That's us. That's the relationship.
I think he's gonna get a push.
That's what we do.
I just think about what his ceiling probably is there. They're gonna have to really figure out the storyline. I think that's probably it, right? I think he would be actually great with the TNT belt, but I don't know that I see him as world champ. At least as currently presented and what we know of him from the past. Dude's got the charisma for it. Dude's got the attitude for it. Dude's definitely good in the ring and good enough for it. We haven't really seen him do anything, though. And he's been gone for so long, that push is going to take a while for it to build, like a while. So I'm thinking it's going to take about a year at least. We haven't even seen Miro with gold outside of the TNT belt. So I wouldn't put those two on the same page, only because we haven't seen a single star in Santana yet. And I'm excited to see what he does. To your point, I think that breaking up PMP was a mistake, because we have the tag division has fallen off hard. I'll say it and try to be respectful, but it's not good. We have FTR, we have the Young Bucks, Aussie Open is ROH. And we just keep putting them in AEW. Nobody knows what's going on with that.
Ring of Honor to your point from earlier.
Mm-hmm. Who's going to spend money on a Ring of Honor when you don't even know what it is and there's no reason to watch it? So Aussie Open's on AEW. I'm not paying to see them on Ring of Honor. What's the point? Claudio's in AEW. So is Samoa Joe. So Aussie Open is probably tag team number 4 behind the Lucha Bros, right? Who's 5? Iron Savages? We have Better Than You Bebe right now. I get that, but the Acclaimed are doing trios things. The Hung Bucks aren't really going to go for the trios thing, and Omega and the Bucks aren't doing that right now.
So I don't know what's next for House of Black.
Exactly what I was just going to say. It's just all up in the air, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of tag team stuff happening right now. And the stuff that is happening is the Hardys getting beaten up by new people to show that the new people are good, I guess, even though they're not wrestling. So it's very confusing. It's like, aren't these guys supposed to start on Ring of Honor first? But they're on AEW, but they'll be on Ring of Honor. What is happening here? It's I don't like what AEW is doing with Ring of Honor. I don't like what WWE is doing with NXT, because it's confusing to me. Where am I supposed to care about it? Who am I supposed to care about? Why? So I really struggle with all of this, knowing that Proud and Powerful could probably be tag team champions right now, but they're not, because they broke up, and I hope they get back together. I don't know if it's a mistake. We'll see. We can't predict that, but I'm hoping for the best, because I love both of those dudes, and I think Santana is going to have a good singles run. I just don't know what that means for Ortiz.
Yeah. Well said, man. Well, speaking of mistakes, there is a big mistake being made, Brad, that I need to get off my chest. So it's time. We're bringing it back. Let's get into promo of the week. Play the music.
And now, the promo of the week.
So, Brad, my favorite teacher. I have an issue here, my friend. I have put off paying back my student loans for years and years. I'm not proud of it, but it's who I am in this current moment. So I know that there's this program or this teacher loan forgiveness option. I've been hearing about it. I finally took the time to research it and really start creating a plan for myself. So the headline here, this is off studentaid.gov, the federal website. It says TLF, Teacher Loan Forgiveness, forgives up to $17,500 of your direct or federal loans after 5 complete and consecutive years of teaching at a qualifying school. 6 years under my belt, Brad. I meet the criteria, so I'm going into this thinking, okay, if I can get almost 18,000 cleared, I might be able to pay this thing off within the next few years. I do some digging though, and you'll see on the website, if you scroll down just slightly, to qualify for TF, you must have been employed as a full-time teacher at an eligible school, once again for 5 years, done that. But the next paragraph is why I'm so upset. It says, and I quote, certain highly qualified special education and secondary mathematics or science teachers can qualify for up to $17,500 in forgiveness. Are you ready for this bullshit that comes next? Other eligible teachers can qualify for up to $5,000. You and I met, Brad, through working as English teachers at the same amazing high school, right? We were in the English department together and got to know each other, and here we are today. That amazing district that used to employ me. Back then, when I was working there, I got wind of this decision that if you were hired after a certain time, if you taught math, because that was a high needs area, right? We needed folks to apply to be math teachers, and we weren't getting them. If you applied to be a math teacher and got hired, you would make an extra $10,000 per year. $10,000 more in the English department than the history department than everybody, because your area is deemed as high needs. Brad, when we were teaching together, when it would be time for yearbook day, which class period would they use to take kids to the library and get their photos taken? It would always be English.
Yeah, always.
So when I saw this policy, Brad, my punk ass went to this website thinking that I was about to get $18,000 wiped off from my student loans. The fact that I'm not going to disparage our special education teachers because they are heroes. I'm not even going to disparage science or even math because they are heroes too. But it seems like through my time in education, for whatever reason, math teachers are being put on a pedestal above English teachers. And I don't know why we're creating this friction that doesn't have to exist. So you're telling me if I went back to school and I majored in Steiner math, or I could put together some fractions, I could make $10,000 more every year. I could get $18,000 waived off of my student loans? Are we just prioritizing math ahead of other subjects? Are we just saying, no, English doesn't matter. Like speaking with people, communicating your thoughts, analyzing, like that doesn't matter, but math does. Why can't we just value everybody? And why can't y'all waive $18K off my student loans? I feel like I put in the work. I feel like English courses matter and are just important as other subjects. But I don't know that everybody feels that way, Brad.
No, I'm with you, man. Since they implemented that policy, the teachers that are in math have made $70,000 more than people that teach English, if they've been there the entire time. And I feel a certain way about that. They basically got 2 extra years worth of a beginning teacher's salary gifted to them for teaching something where we're struggling to fill anything at any time. While you were talking, I decided to pull up my public service loan forgiveness payment plan. The way that it works, and it's all screwed up right now because I think they're missing a whole bunch of my accounts, is you have to make 120 consecutive payments or 120 payments on qualifying loans. All my loans are qualifying.
10-year span, right?
It's 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years worth of monthly payments.
Mm-hmm.
And I currently have 57 of 120 payments to go on loans I've been paying for the last almost 7 years. And if you're wondering what the math is, that's about 5 more years left, which brings that to what, 12 years, 13 years of repayments. So they don't pay off every loan every month. They don't put payments on every loan every month. It goes month to month. So you're paying like every other month on the loan, and it's per loan, not total amount. So every time a qualifying loan payment goes in, it pays down one of the loans, but not, or 2 of the loans, but it ignores the other ones. So you don't have a qualifying payment on that loan, which then drags out all of your qualifying payments by like 20 years. So this, I'll have it all forgiven in 10 years bullshit is really, it's going to take you at least 15 to get through it all. Because stuff like the TLF thing, the only reason I went back to school, full disclosure for people who are like going to be like, you need to take care of your money kind of people, which drive me absolutely bonkers. The only reason I went back to school is because of the public service loan forgiveness program. Because I was told that this is how it works. I was not told that that's how it works, or I probably wouldn't have gone back to school. But it was the only way at the time to get a raise. You had to go back for more education because we had been locked for a decade at the same pay rate with no increases, save very slight ones that basically offset the insurance costs. So it really wasn't anything, but everything else got more expensive. And eventually there was a walkout. It's a whole thing. But I went back to school specifically to make more money. But because I had to go back to school to make more money, I'm now paying more money per month on my private, or not my private loans, but my direct loans, which are supposed to be forgiven next year, but will not be forgiven until probably 2026, 27 at the least. So it's very upsetting, man.
Yeah, we got to figure this out. Well, in case you haven't heard, you can find our articles on wrestling, pop culture, and more by visiting gimmickinfringementpod.com. You can also follow us on X at GIPod19. Brad is also there at Winduster, as am I at Tyler J. McDowell. Brad, before we get out of here, did we miss anything? I think we covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, nothing that I had down. The only thing I wanted to talk about was Prime, and you did that a little bit. So,
yeah. How fun was that game, man?
Oh,
gotta staying up till midnight out here the night before GI.
That was out here. Like, I'm glad we don't live out east. I'm real happy about that. I can't even, people watching it over in Florida and New York, just red eyeing it till 2 a.m. No, I'm all set. I'm happy about that. Wrestling was everywhere in non-wrestling places this weekend, and it was pretty cool to see.
Yeah. Well said, man. This was a blast. We thank you all so much for being here. And of course, as you know, we hope you'll join us again for the next edition of GI. Gimmick Infringement is a part of 19 Media Group. You can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube via the 19 Media Group channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.